Today we are going to be doing my Q1 release ranking, and I decided I'm going to mix it up this time to adjust how I do this ranking. This is something I've done the last few years because I do get a lot of advanced reader copies, and I don't know, I just kind of feel a certain level of responsibility of if I get that to make sure that I talk about, the books that I got early, part of, to me, the agreement I make when I take an advance copy. So I always like to do that, and also I just talk about a lot of books, so it's kind of nice to have it in one place for y'all. But this time, I've been doing like a forced ranking of that. I think this time we're going to do more of a tier ranking, and I thought that I would include not only the advanced reader copies I read, but just also all of the Q1 releases that I've read so far. Full disclosure, Q1 is not over at the time of this filming, but I think this is mostly the things I will have read that came out in the first quarter of the year. So this is just a little bit of a different format. You guys can let me know how you feel about it, and I'm excited. So we're gonna hop on in here, and this is our tier ranking. So I've got 5 levels, and this does not necessarily correspond to star rating. This is more about who I would recommend this to / how I felt about it, kind of trying to combine to try to map some of my feelings about it to what I guess might be a more general reception. So, bottom is not recommended, meaning I didn't particularly love it, and I also don't know that there's a ton of other people who would enjoy it. So that's the bottom. The second from the bottom is not for me, meaning it wasn't for me. It wasn't one that I particularly loved, but could see someone else liking it more than I did. Yeah. Again, self-explanatory here. Solid enjoyed it means I think it's both a solid recommendation. I feel like it has a decently wide potential audience of people who would enjoy it. And then also, I personally also enjoyed it. I loved it, but you may not it was for me, but I think that it's divisive, and I don't know that it will be for everyone. So I recommend it in the sense of if you like what I like, you may also enjoy this one. But I do want to give people the caveat that you may not like it because it's a little bit more quirky. And then finally, yes, it's just I loved it. I think everybody, I think it has a pretty wide audience. If you're the kind of person who would like this kind of story, I guess would be the caveat, because, not every book is for every reader, and not every reader is for every book. But if you, for instance, like a mystery, and I like that mystery, then I would recommend it. I think that makes sense. Let's jump in. I went in order of release. So first of all, Spare, which is a lovely, controversial place to start. I'm kind of between, I'm going to put it in solid enjoyed it, because while I don't know that it is for everyone, I do think that it's a buzzy enough book that I did find it very interesting, and I think that there's a lot of people who would also find it interesting. So you may not love it in the sense of thinking it's great, but I think that it would be an interesting reading experience. So for that reason, I'll put it in solid recommendation, and I enjoyed it. Lost in the Moment and Found, I'm definitely going to put into yes, because I think that it's a very, very good entry in the Wayward Children series by Shauna McGuire. This one has a lot to do with child grooming. So I guess that's the only content warning I would kind of give for this one. But I do think that it was a very well-executed entry in the series. And if you like, how would I describe the Wayward Children series? They are very metaphor or theme forward, speculative books that are different takes on Portal fantasy. And the children from Portal fantasies, what happens when they come back to our world, basically, after they've gone to Narnia or wherever, how does that affect them? So this one is set in sort of a portal crossroads where there's a bunch of different doors coming in and out. And yeah, it was just really, really well done. Then we'll go to Magic Tides by Ilona Andrews. Okay, I'm going to say that if you like an urban fantasy, you'll like Magic Tides. It was the book that made me really cement the fact that I've seen Ilona Andrews' formula and that my relationship with them will never be quite the same. But Yeah, so if you've been curious to try Kate Daniels, but you're kind of intimidated by a long series, this is a sequel spinoff. So I guess it does, theoretically have some spoilers for the end of Kate Daniels. Yeah, okay, I'll walk that back. It does have spoilers for the end of Kate Daniels. If you're like me and you don't really care about that, then I would say this could be a good place to start. But if you care about spoilers for Kate Daniels, don't start with this one. But if you like this series, you're going to like this book, I think. How to Sell a Haunted House, I'm going to put in I Loved It, But You May Not, just because Grady Hendrix is a very campy horror writer. There's a specific kind of point of view or tone to his version of horror that I think is not for everyone. It is for me. This one I thought had some interesting themes around grief and also lots of creepy dolls. So that's another thing. If you don't like creepy dolls, you won't like this. But I think if you're looking for more serious horror is maybe the way to say it, you might not love How to Sell a Haunted House because it is still kind of campy. And then The Drift. I'm kind of between Solid and I Loved It, But You May Not. The only reason I'm tempted to put it in I Loved It, But You May Not is that C.J. Tudor I think of as a mystery thriller writer, and this I would definitely describe as a dystopian thriller. So it's much more sci-fi. So if that's not what you want from this author, that might be jarring. But you know what? I'm just going to put it in Solid Enjoyed It. I think if you're looking for a really good page-turner dystopian thriller story, I think that you'll find a lot to like in The Drift. In her Highlander's Bed, I'm going to put in I Love It, But You May Not. Listen, people who have critiques of Lindsay Sands' historicals, you ain't wrong. Like, I don't have anything to counter that they're very samey and very campy. But I just like it. So for me, it works. If you like the Lindsay Sands medieval Scotland Highlander historical formula, I think you'll like this book. This one in particular, I think, had more of an emphasis on the relationship, like the romance, than the mystery plot, which can sometimes not always be the case. But I thought that was the case in this particular book. So I loved it, but you may not. Yes, I'm going to give another one to that, which is Frantor by Honey Phillips. And I'm putting it there because if you like a sci-fi alien romance that's a Beauty and the Beast kind of trope, then you're going to love this book because it's a very good version of that. It's very satisfying, so over the top, so delightfully wholesome and yet smutty. It was great. Encore in Death, solid, enjoyed it. That's where I would put that. It is a good entry in the In Death series. You know, number 56 or 57. So if you don't know by now if you like the series, why are you still reading it? I would not recommend starting with this one, but it was good. As I said, solid. Enjoyed it. It was a good entry. You know what? I'm going to put Cupcakes for My Orc Enemy from Honey Phillips and Not For Me. I don't know that this version of Honey Phillips is her most successful, where it's sort of a small town monster romance vibe. I don't know that it's her most successful flavor. I think I prefer her more on the sci-fi romance end of things. But, you know, your mileage may vary. Bright and Deadly Things, I'm also going to put in Not For Me because it's just much more... I was wanting it to be an isolated closed circle mystery, and I don't know that that's really what it is. It is an isolation thriller, because they're like snowed into this ski chalet kind of deal. But there's much more coming and going than I was expecting. And I just think it was too long. The pacing, it didn't have enough tension in it. The pacing was just a little too drawn out for my taste. But I mean, I think it's still entertaining. It's not that I would steer people away from it, but I think for my tastes, it's not as good as I was hoping. Okay, The Writing Retreat. This is pretty much why I created the I Loved It, But You May Not category. I don't necessarily recommend this book, guys. It is wackadoo. It's very over the top, and I think if you're looking for something that's going to surprise you, this is not a book you will enjoy. It is a suspense more than a thriller. And what I mean by that is, when I think suspense, I think of a book where you, the audience, kind of know what's coming and you're waiting for it to happen, which is what I think this book is. People who want like a twist that they don't see coming, which is how I think a lot of thriller readers approach their books, I don't think will be happy with this. And if you're a mystery fan and you want to be like figuring something out, again, I don't know how happy you'll be with this, because I think it doesn't take a lot of guessing to figure out what's going on. But I just thought it was so over the top. It was so dark and campy. And I just, all three of these, I just realized that are in the I Loved It But You May Not, have different flavors of camp. And I just think that that's not for everyone, but is for me. The Adventure Zone, solid. Enjoyed it. I thought this was a good entry. I like this particular arc of the Adventure Zone where they are in basically like a time loop. So if you like time travel stories, you might be interested in this. The art, I think, continues to be great. We're to the point in the podcast where things really started to kind of get adventuresome, if you will, with the storytelling. So I think the macro plot stuff is really interesting, and, we're closing in. We've only got 2 more entries in this series, so I'm both excited and sad to see that play out. But if you like this graphic novel series, I think you will like this one. Rajal's Resonance, I'm going to put up in yes, because again, if you like a sci-fi romance, I think that you will be satisfied with this. This is the beginning of a 3rd series within the Ice Planet Barbarian world. There was Ice Planet Barbarians, then there was Ice Home, and this is sort of the 3rd series on that world, and I forget what it's being called, but I would probably recommend, if you wanted to start with this series, I would recommend starting with the 2nd series, which is Ice Home, and it starts with Lauren's Barbarian. I think that would be a better place to jump in, but if you don't want to do that and you just want to start fresh with Ruby Dixon in this world, she gives you a very clear, like, the road so far summary at the beginning, and then starts a new storyline. So I think you could start here if you've been looking to join in on this series. So then The Adventures of Amina Al-Sarafi, I'm going to also put in yes, because if you like a high fantasy adventure quest kind of story with a retired lady pirate, this completely delivers. I thought this was funny. I really enjoyed some of the backstory stuff that we get from this character, particularly with her romantic situation. I thought that was very entertaining. And there's a lot of characters who I think as the series progresses, we will really come to connect with and love. I'm going to actually wait until the series is complete to finish it, because I think it's going to be one I want to binge. But I would definitely, I would say that this is one that is really living up to how much hype it was getting pre-release. I think that it's very successful. And then Gilmat. I'm going to put this in not recommended only because I wouldn't recommend it as a standalone. And I think it's a disappointing ending to what was otherwise a really, really good series. I mean, hello, I put Frantor up here and yes. So, I think Gilmat, I thought that he was a very interesting character. He's like a plant alien man. And I just felt like that was really underbaked. The wrap up to the macro plot was good, but I don't know. I was really looking forward to Gilmat's story, and I feel like it kind of let me down. So I'm going to put it in not recommended. Don't read it as a standalone. If you've been reading the series, go ahead and finish it, I guess would be my take. What have we done? I'm going to put in solid, enjoyed it. I think this is probably Alex Finlay's least successful book that I've read from him so far, but I think it's still very entertaining. Like, if you're looking for a conspiracy thriller, which this is, I would say, of the 3 books I've read, well, I guess all 3 of them in some way you could think of as a conspiracy thriller, but definitely Every Last Fear was a conspiracy thriller. I think that this one is also in that vein and is very page-turning and entertaining. I think it suffers for attempting to have so many points of view. I think it would have been more successful if he had kind of stuck with the female point of view character he has, and maybe have like one point of view with the baddies. I think it probably would have been a better book for that. But if you're looking for entertainment, I recommend this. The Mimicking of Known Successes, I'm going to put up here in yes, because I think that if you like a sci-fi novella, I would definitely recommend this one. It is a sci-fi mystery. So there's a mystery happening on this colony on Jupiter, and our detective has to go to her old girlfriend to help her with the case. And so there's like a little bit of a romantic side element here where there might be something getting stirred up between them, and they're trying to solve this mystery that has to do with the old girlfriend's department at this university. I think that the world building in this is super cool. Thematically, this is a lot about climate change, and I just thought this was both very entertaining and very confident. Like, it knew what it wanted to do, and it like executed on it pretty well. A House with Good Bones. I'm between yes and I loved it, but you may not. You know what? I'm going to put it I loved it, but you may not, because again, it does have the camp, which is like my recurring thing I want to caution people about. I just don't know that this kind of horror is for everyone, because it does end up being pretty over the top and a little campy by the end. T. Kingfisher does that, I think, from what I can tell in a lot of her books. And this one in particular, I felt like was allegorizing boomer parents of millennial children who are drifting to the right. Like, that kind of seemed to be the thematic content that I thought was a smart take. And it's a haunted house story. It does have creepy plants, which for me is an issue often, but the way that she handled it worked, to the point where I think I may dare to read What Moves the Dead, which I know is my number one phobia of fungi involved in that horror. But I'm wondering, I don't know, this made me hopeful that maybe I can deal with it. So anyway, I really like this book, and I would definitely recommend it. But I guess I would recommend it to people to whom that sounds appealing, because I don't think that it's one everybody's gonna like. So, Lone Women, let's put that up here in yes, because I think this is a great horror novel and surprising. I think that where this book goes, I wasn't entirely expecting, but in a great way. I think that this delivers on the creepy factor and the intrigue factor, because the beginning of the book, our main character, or one of our main characters, burns down the house she was living in, and her parents' dead bodies are inside, and she has this trunk that's locked that she has to haul everywhere, and we just want to know what's in this trunk. So that was really creepy and effective. And then I just think that this author delivers a lot of bold choices of when he has different story beats happening in a way that I found really exciting and really entertaining. This is a very page-turning kind of horror novel, and I think that this is going to be a crowd pleaser. Like, I think a lot of people are going to really like this one, so I would definitely put that in yes. And then our last one is Camp Zero, which is another dystopian thriller. But, you know, if I put The Drift and Salad Enjoyed It, I feel like I can't put this in the same level, because I definitely like The Drift better, and I think that more people will like it. Camp Zero, I just think, was a little on the nose and a little underbaked. It is entertaining, though. So if you are just looking for straight up entertainment, and this is a genre you really like, I would still potentially recommend it to you, which is why I say it's not for me, but recommended. It's okay. Like, it's fine, but just not memorable. And definitely, if I were picking between The Drift and Camp Zero, which were both dystopian thrillers, I would definitely give you The Drift over Camp Zero. So The Drift is more about like a pandemic, and Camp Zero is more about climate change in terms of the sci-fi dystopian element. So there you go. That is going to be my Q1 releases ranked. I guess theoretically these are my top, the ones that I think are most recommendable to most people. Even though I do really, really like these 4 books, I just don't know that they're as widely recommendable. So yeah, okay, I kind of like this. I don't know. You guys will have to let me know what you thought about this format. I thought that this was fun, so this may be what we do this year to, you know, spice it up, keep us all on our toes. But yeah, let me know what you thought about this format. Let me know if you've read any of these books, if you agree, if you disagree, if you would recommend them to people, if you wouldn't, etc. Let me know that in the comments below. And yeah, I think that will do it for this video. So if you enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, follow me on the social medias if you are so inclined. I have all that information listed in the description box below, and I think that will do it. I hope you are having an absolutely lovely day today, and I will just talk to you soon. Bye!